The neon lights of New Shanghai's botanical district painted iridescent patterns across Thera's azure skin as she hurried through the crowded streets. Her species' natural bioluminescent markings, usually a source of pride among the Lasari, were now carefully dimmed to avoid attention. 6 standard cycles had passed since her research vessel's catastrophic failure in Earth's atmosphere, and each day brought new challenges in this overwhelming human metropolis. Thera's four-fingered hand clutched her last remaining possession, a sealed containment unit housing rare seedlings from her homeworld. As a senior xenobotanical researcher, she knew their value, both scientific and monetary. But after weeks of rejected job applications and dwindling resources, even these precious specimens might need to be sacrificed for survival. The evening crowd parted around her tall, willowy frame as she approached the forever green botanical exchange. Humans still weren't entirely used to seeing Lasari, despite the official trade agreements between Earth and her homeworld. Their stares carried a mixture of curiosity and wariness that made her skin patterns pulse with discomfort. Authentication invalid, the automated scanner announced as she tried to enter the exchange. Biometric profile flagged. Please step aside for security review. Thera's heart raced. She'd feared this might happen, her legal status had become complicated after the crash. Before she could retreat, 2 security drones materialized beside her, their sensors scanning her body and the containment unit. Is there a problem here? A deep voice cut through the building tension. A human male approached, his dark skin contrasting with the bright holoscreen displays floating around his wrists, the mark of someone working in tech. His expression was curious rather than hostile. My credentials appear to be temporarily compromised, Thera explained carefully, her universal translator working to maintain the professional tone she'd cultivated over years of academic work. I merely wish to inquire about botanical trading opportunities. The man's eyes flickered to her containment unit, then back to her face. A subtle gesture dismissed the security drones. Nathan Drake, cybersecurity consultant, he introduced himself. And you look like someone who could use a coffee and a secure connection. Thera hesitated. Her species was naturally empathic at short ranges, and she detected no malice from this human, only genuine concern and professional interest. Still, experience had taught her caution. I wouldn't wish to impose. The imposing would be mutual, Nathan replied with a slight smile. I've been trying to understand the security vulnerabilities in xenobiological transport systems. Seems like you might have some relevant insights. The implied exchange of knowledge for help was subtle but clear. Thera's scientific mind quickly analyzed the possibilities. Perhaps a brief discussion would be mutually beneficial. 20 minutes later, they sat in a private booth at the Red Lotus Tea House, an establishment that catered to both human and non-human clientele. The privacy fields hummed softly around them, creating a bubble of security in the crowded space. So, Nathan began, his fingers dancing across his holoscreens, your ship's crash wasn't in any official records. Interesting. Thera's skin patterns shifted in surprise. You've already investigated? It's what I do. He showed her a screen full of data. Your credentials are valid, just locked behind some very sophisticated encryption. Someone went to a lot of trouble to make you disappear. The revelation sent a chill through her. My research was purely academic. I studied extinct plant species and their potential applications in terraforming. Terraforming? Nathan's eyes sharpened. That's a hot topic right now. Especially with the Mars colonies struggling. Thera's fingers unconsciously tightened around her containment unit. These specimens, they're unique. Adapted to survive extreme conditions while accelerating atmospheric modification. My team had just achieved a breakthrough when your ship conveniently malfunctioned, Nathan finished. He sat back, thinking. Look, I've got some contacts in the indie research sector. People who operate outside the big core. They're always looking for xenobotanical experts, especially ones with original research. Why would you help me? Thera asked directly, her empathic senses probing gently. Nathan's response carried the clear ring of truth. Because something stinks about your situation, and I hate seeing knowledge suppressed. Besides, he grinned, I've got a garden that's slowly dying despite my best efforts. Could use some expert advice. For the first time in weeks, Thera felt her skin patterns brighten with amusement. Your motivations are admirably transparent. That's me. Transparent as a quantum encryption key. He became serious again. But first, we need to get your credentials unlocked and figure out who wanted you grounded on Earth. My apartment has better security than most corporate headquarters, you can work from there while we sort this out. Thera considered the offer carefully. Her options were limited, and her scientific instincts were intrigued by the puzzle Nathan presented. More than that, her empathic senses told her this human was genuinely interested in both the mystery and her well-being. I accept, she said finally. But you should know that associating with me may prove dangerous. The ship's malfunction. I'm increasingly certain it was deliberate. Nathan's grin returned, wider this time. Dangerous is my specialty. Besides, anyone targeting alien botanists probably isn't ready for a human cybersecurity expert and his very particular set of skills. As they left the tea house, Thera felt something she hadn't experienced since the crash, hope. She didn't know it yet, but this chance encounter would change not only her life but the future of human-alien relations forever. That night, in Nathan's secure apartment high above the glittering cityscape, Thera carefully tended to her seedlings while he worked on unraveling the encryption around her credentials. The comfortable silence between them was broken only by the soft hum of computers and the occasional satisfied chirp from Nathan as he broke through another security layer. Your garden, she said suddenly, noticing the struggling plants in his hydroponic unit. The pH balance is wrong for Earth species. You're using atmospheric regulators calibrated for Martian conditions. Nathan looked up from his screens, surprised. I bought those at a standard equipment auction. They were marketed for Earth use. Another piece of the puzzle, Thera murmured, her scientific mind already connecting dots. Someone is deliberately distributing incorrectly calibrated terraforming equipment. The question is, why? And who profits from the failure? Nathan added, his fingers flying across the holographic keyboard. Give me a few hours. Every piece of tech leaves traces, and traces can be followed. Thera watched him work, fascinated by the intensity of his focus. Humans were considered impulsive and emotional by many alien species, but she was learning they could also display remarkable dedication and intelligence. Perhaps that's why they had advanced so quickly since achieving spaceflight. As the city's artificial dawn began to brighten, neither of them realized they had just taken the first steps on a path that would uncover one of the greatest conspiracies in human-alien history. For now, they were simply two beings from different worlds, united by curiosity and the universal desire to uncover the truth. Morning light filtered through the electrochromic windows of Nathan's apartment, finding Thera bent over her seedlings with scientific precision. 3 days had passed since their chance meeting, and each hour revealed new layers to the mystery surrounding her crashed ship. Got something? Nathan called from his workstation, his voice tight with excitement. Your credentials weren't just locked, they were actively being used by someone else. Multiple login attempts from, that's interesting. Thera moved to his side, her natural bioluminescence brightening with curiosity. The screen showed a complex web of access points, all originating from a familiar location. The Helios Corporation? Her inner eyelids flickered in surprise. They're one of the largest terraforming companies in human space. And they've been very interested in your research, Nathan confirmed, bringing up more data streams. Look at this, they've accessed your work on atmospheric modification at least 30 times in the past week alone. Thera's fingers traced the floating data, her scientific mind racing. These access patterns, they're not looking at my published research. They're trying to find my private notes on the Verdant Protocol. The what now? A theoretical approach to rapid terraforming using genetically modified organisms from my homeworld. Thara's skin patterns shifted to deeper blues of concern. It was purely experimental, the risks of implementing it without proper testing would be catastrophic. Nathan leaned back, his dark eyes serious. Catastrophic enough to want to ground a prominent researcher who might oppose its use? Before Thara could respond, every screen in the apartment flashed red. Nathan's security systems had detected something. Multiple drones approaching, the AI announced. Security protocols compromised. Time to go, Nathan said, already moving. His fingers flew across haptic interfaces, activating countermeasures. Grab your samples. We've got about 3 minutes before they breach the outer defenses. Thara carefully secured her containment unit, her heart's racing. Where can we go? They'll track any registered transport. Nathan's grin held a hint of mischief. Who said anything about registered? He pressed his palm against a seemingly ordinary wall section, revealing a hidden compartment containing what looked like maintenance worker gear. Sometimes the best way to hide is in plain sight. 2 minutes later, they emerged onto the maintenance level wearing technician uniforms, complete with ID badges that Nathan somehow produced from his mysterious supplies. Above them, they could hear the commotion as security drones breached his apartment. The badges will fool basic scans, Nathan explained as they descended through service corridors. But we need to get underground fast. I've got contacts in the lower levels who can help. The lower levels of New Shanghai were a maze of abandoned subway tunnels and repurposed infrastructure from the city's earlier days. As they descended, the glossy surfaces of the upper city gave way to rust and decay. The air grew thicker, filled with the smell of machinery and illegal food stalls. Your contact, Thara asked carefully, can they be trusted? More than most. She's got her own reasons to distrust Helios. Nathan led them through a series of increasingly narrow passages. Remember how I said I specialize in dangerous situations? Well, let's just say I've helped a lot of people disappear when they needed to. They emerged into what appeared to be an old maintenance hub, now converted into a hidden living space. Screens covered one wall, showing security feeds from all over the city. A woman with cybernetic augmentations visible along her temples looked up from a workbench. Nathan, she said, unsurprised. Finally managed to piss off the big boys, huh? Rook, this is Thara. Thara, meet the best information broker in the lower levels. Rook's augmented eyes scanned Thara with obvious interest. A Lasari xenobotanist. Now I see why Helios is in such a twist. They've got kill teams searching every level of the city. Kill teams? Thara's skin pulsed with alarm. For botanical research? Not just research, Rook said, pulling up data on her screens. Look at this. Helios has been buying up failed colonies on Mars, ones where the terraforming efforts didn't take. They're paying way above market value. Nathan moved closer to the screens, his expression darkening. They're positioning themselves to implement something big. Something that would let them terraform quickly, regardless of the risks. The Verdant Protocol, Thara whispered. But they don't understand, the original tests showed cascade failures. The modified organisms could evolve too rapidly, consuming resources at an unsustainable rate. Destroying existing ecosystems in the process, Nathan finished. But they'd have a monopoly on the only working terraforming process in the solar system. Rook's augmented eyes flickered as she processed more data. It gets worse. I'm seeing unusual shipping manifests. They're moving something big to Mars, piece by piece. Something biological. Thara moved to examine her containment unit, her scientific training warring with growing horror. They must have recovered samples from my ship. But without the proper stabilization sequences. A distant explosion rocked the hub, cutting off power for a moment before backup systems engaged. Rook screens showed armed figures moving through the tunnels with military precision. "They're not just after your research anymore," Nathan said grimly. "They want to eliminate anyone who knows what they're planning." "The samples," Thera said suddenly, her scientific mind racing ahead to conclusions. "The ones they recovered, they're degrading. That's why they're moving so fast. They need my expertise to stabilize the process before their whole project falls apart. And probably dispose of you afterward," Rook added helpfully. She was already gathering equipment. "There's an old emergency tunnel that leads to the spaceport. If we're going to stop them, we need to get to Mars first." Nathan looked at Thera, his expression serious. "This is your call. We can try to disappear deeper underground, or we can take the fight to them. Either way, I'm with you." Thera's skin patterns shifted through colors of thought before settling into the determined purple of decision. "They've corrupted my life's work, threatened both our lives, and planned to endanger countless others. We stopped them. That's what I was hoping you'd say." Nathan's grin returned as he checked the weapons Rook was distributing. "I've always wanted to save a planet." As they prepared to move out, Thera caught Nathan watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Her empathic senses detected a complex mix of emotions, concern, admiration, and something deeper growing beneath the surface. "What?" she asked. "Just thinking," he replied softly, "about how someone so focused on bringing life to dead worlds ended up fighting to save living ones." Before she could respond, another explosion rocked the hub, closer this time. "Company's coming," Rook announced. "Time to make your epic escape. Try not to die, I hate losing valuable contacts." As they slipped into the emergency tunnel, Thera realized how much her life had changed in just a few days. She had come to Earth as a stranded researcher and was now heading to Mars to prevent an ecological disaster. And somehow, despite the danger, or perhaps because of it, she felt more alive than ever. The question was, would they reach Mars in time to stop Helios, or were they already too late? The maintenance corridors of New Shanghai's spaceport buzzed with activity as Thera, Nathan, and Rook made their way through the labyrinth of service tunnels. Their stolen maintenance credentials had gotten them this far, but security was tightening by the minute as Helios teams swept the port. "Our window's closing," Rook whispered, her cybernetic eyes scanning through walls. "Helios has locked down most of the commercial flights to Mars. But I've got something better." She led them to a sealed door marked "Restricted Access." Inside was a sleek shuttle, clearly military-grade but with civilian markings. Previously owned by some corporate executives who made some poor life choices, Rook explained with a smirk. "Let's just say they won't be needing it anymore." Nathan whistled low. "Ghost-class stealth drive, custom life support." He ran his hands over the controls appreciatively. "This could actually get us to Mars undetected. Assuming we can launch without being spotted," Thera pointed out, her scientific mind already calculating trajectories. Her skin patterns shifted to analytical green as she studied the ship's specifications. A distant explosion rocked the maintenance bay. "That would be my distraction," Rook announced. "You've got about 3 minutes before they realize it's a decoy. Try not to waste my investment." As Nathan began the launch sequence, Thera turned to thank their unlikely ally. But Rook was already gone, melted back into the shadows of her underground domain. The shuttle lifted off smoothly, its stealth systems engaging as they breached New Shanghai's skyline. Through the viewport, Thera watched the gleaming towers recede, her hearts heavy with the weight of their mission. "Having second thoughts?" Nathan asked softly, his hands steady on the controls. "No," she replied, watching Earth's atmosphere thin around them. "But I never imagined my research could be weaponized like this." The Verdant Protocol was meant to bring life to dead worlds, not destroy existing ones, Nathan finished. His dark eyes met hers. That's why we're going to stop them. The next 48 hours in space gave them time to plan, and to grow closer. Thera found herself fascinated by Nathan's mix of technical brilliance and moral conviction. He, in turn, was captivated by her passionate dedication to science and life itself. "Your species," he asked during one quiet moment as they watched Mars grow larger in the viewport, "you can sense emotions, right? What am I feeling right now?" Thera's skin rippled with soft colors of amusement and something deeper. "You know very well what you're feeling, Nathan Drake. The question is, what do we do about it?" Before he could respond, the shuttle's proximity alerts blared. A massive Helios transport ship had appeared seemingly out of nowhere, its weapons already tracking their position. "Stealth systems compromised," the shuttle's AI announced calmly. "Multiple targeting locks detected." Nathan's hands flew over the controls, executing evasive maneuvers. "They were waiting for us. Someone must have tracked the shuttle's quantum signature." "Attention unregistered vessel," a cold voice transmitted over their comm system. "This is Helios Security Director Marcus Vale. You are carrying a fugitive and stolen corporate property. Stand down immediately." Thera's scientific mind raced ahead. "The Martian radiation belt," she said suddenly. "If we can reach it. The interference would break their targeting lock," Nathan finished, already adjusting their course. "But the radiation would fry our shields in minutes. Unless..." Thera moved to her containment unit, removing one of her precious seedling samples. "My specimens evolved to thrive in high-radiation environments. If I can adapt the ship's biofilters." Nathan's grin was fierce. "Do it. I'll keep us alive until then." What followed was a desperate race against time. As Nathan pushed the shuttle through increasingly elaborate evasive patterns, Thera worked to integrate her biological samples into the ship's life support systems. Her four-fingered hands moved with precise efficiency, her skin pulsing with concentration colors. A glancing hit from the Helios ship's weapons sent them spinning. "Shields at 40%, the AI reported. Hull breach imminent." "Now would be good," Nathan called, his voice strained as he fought the controls. "Almost." Thera made a final adjustment. "There. Activate the modified filters." As they plunged into the Martian radiation belt, the shuttle systems began to change. The biological components she had introduced spread through the shield matrix, adapting and evolving in real time. Outside, the deadly radiation that would normally tear their ship apart was being absorbed, processed, and redirected. "It's working," Nathan breathed, watching their shield strength actually increase. "You're a genius." Behind them, the Helios ship pulled up short, unable to follow into the radiation belt without risking total systems failure. But Thera's expression remained troubled as they descended toward the red planet's surface. "They'll find another way to follow us down," she said. "And what we just did. I've proven the Verdant Protocol can be adapted to work with technology. If they capture us now, they won't." Nathan's hand found hers, warm and reassuring. "But we need to move fast. Where would they be setting up their main operation?" Thera studied the Martian surface maps. "Here," she pointed to a massive dome complex near Olympus Mons. "The atmospheric pressure and radiation levels match the parameters in my original research. It's where I would do it." As they set course for the facility, a priority alert flashed across their screens. "Encrypted data, fresh from Earth, courtesy of Rook, multiple Helios board members have quietly transferred their families off-planet. Timeline accelerated. 0 hour in 15 standard hours. They're going to release the modified organisms early," Thera realized, her skin paling to shocked white. "Before they've stabilized. The cascade effect could spread beyond Mars," reaching Earth itself. Nathan's expression hardened with determination. Then we've got 15 hours to save 2 planets. He looked at her intently. Any regrets about getting involved with a random human who offered you coffee? Despite the gravity of their situation, Thera felt her skin patterns shift to the warm colors of affection. Only that we didn't have time for a second date. Tell you what, Nathan said as they began their final approach to the Helios facility, after we save the solar system, dinner's on me. Warning klaxons blared as facility defenses detected their approach. But as they prepared for the fight of their lives, both human and alien felt a surge of hope. Together, they had already overcome impossible odds. What was one more miracle between friends, or perhaps something more? The Martian sunset painted the sky crimson as their shuttle descended toward the massive Helios complex. Whatever awaited them inside, they would face it together. And perhaps, in saving 2 worlds, they would find their own. The Helios facility loomed before them, a sprawling complex of interconnected domes and research buildings nestled in the shadow of Olympus Mons. Nathan and Thera crouched behind a ridge of Martian rock, studying the patrol patterns of security drones through the facility's protective atmospheric shield. Their security is focused outward, Nathan observed, his cybernetic scanners picking up defense grid patterns. They're not expecting anyone to already be inside. He pulled out 2 maintenance worker badges, perfect replicas of Helios staff IDs that Rook had transmitted during their descent. Thera's skin rippled with cautious optimism as she examined her badge. These might get us through the outer checkpoints, but the research labs will have biometric scanning. That's why we're not going to the labs, not directly. Nathan's dark eyes glinted with purpose. You said yourself the modified organisms are unstable. They'll need constant monitoring. Where would that happen? Thera's scientific mind quickly made the connection. The Environmental Control Center. It would have access to all containment systems. Her inner eyelids flickered as she considered the implications. And if we could access those systems, we could shut down their whole operation. Nathan finished. He paused, studying her iridescent features in the Martian twilight. This is going to be dangerous. More than anything we've faced so far. Thera's skin patterns shifted to deep purple, determination. We passed dangerous when they started threatening entire planets. Besides, she added with a subtle color shift that humans might interpret as a blush, I find I rather enjoy facing danger with you. Their eyes met for a long moment before reality intruded in the form of a passing security drone. They waited for it to complete its sweep before moving toward the facility's maintenance entrance, their stolen credentials broadcasting the appropriate signals. The first checkpoint was almost too easy. The automated systems accepted their IDs without question, and the human guard barely glanced up from his holoscreen. It was only after they entered the facility proper that things became complicated. Emergency protocol initiated, the facility's AI announced suddenly. All personnel report to designated safety zones. This is not a drill. Workers began streaming through the corridors, heading for emergency shelters. Nathan and Thera exchanged glances before joining the flow of people, letting it carry them deeper into the facility. They're evacuating non-essential personnel, Thera whispered, her scientific instincts screaming warnings. They're about to begin. A group of rushed-looking researchers hurried past, their conversation carrying clearly, containment fields are barely holding. Vale wants to proceed anyway, complete madness. Nathan pulled them into an empty side corridor. Change of plans. We need to find Vale. He'll have direct access to everything. Security Director Vale? Thera's skin pulsed with concern. The same one who tried to shoot us down? Exactly. And I bet he's wherever the action is. Nathan's fingers danced across his portable terminal, hacking into the facility's systems. Got him. Executive control room, 2 levels up. But He frowned. These readings can't be right. The energy signatures coming from that level. Show me. Thera studied the data, her multiple hearts beating faster. Nathan, these patterns, they're identical to the cascade failures in my original research, but amplified exponentially. They're not just trying to terraform Mars. They're going to use Mars as a staging ground, a new voice interrupted. They spun to find Rook stepping out of the shadows, her cybernetic eyes glowing in the dim emergency lighting. Sorry I'm late. Traffic was murder. How did you? Nathan began. Please. You think I'd let my best information source run off to Mars without backup? Rook tossed them each a small device. Quantum shields. You'll need them. The containment fields are already starting to fail. As if to emphasize her point, the facility shuddered. Warning lights began flashing along the corridors. Multiple containment breaches detected, the AI announced. Emergency protocols engaged. Sealing affected sectors. They've lost control, Thera realized, her scientific horror mounting. The modified organisms are evolving faster than predicted. At this rate. How long? Nathan demanded. Thera's calculations were quick and grim. Hours before Mars is completely transformed. Days before the process reaches Earth. Less if they proceed with their planned release. Another tremor rocked the facility, stronger this time. In the distance, they could hear the screech of twisting metal. I can get you to Vale, Rook said, her augmented eyes scanning through walls. But whatever you're going to do it fast. This place is coming apart. They moved through the facility like ghosts, Rook's inside knowledge of the security systems proving invaluable. But what they found in the upper levels stopped them cold. The corridors were overtaken by strange, iridescent growth, plant-like structures that seemed to pulse with their own inner light. Thera's skin patterns shifted rapidly as she analyzed them. These are impossible, she whispered. The acceleration rate, the adaptation, they've spliced my research with something else. Something that shouldn't exist. Correct, Dr. Thera, a smooth voice called from ahead. Security Director Vale stepped into view, but something was wrong. Bioluminescent patterns similar to Thera's own rippled across his skin. We found something in your crashed ship. Something you had hidden so well, even you didn't know about it. What did you do? Thera's voice was horrified. We evolved, Vale smiled, and his form seemed to shift slightly. Your research wasn't just about terraforming, Doctor. Your people have been seeding the galaxy with the potential for transformation. We simply accelerated the process. Nathan raised his weapon, but Vale moved with impossible speed, disarming him effortlessly. Don't be afraid, Vale said, almost gently. This is the next step. Humanity and alien life, merged into something greater. Your crash wasn't an accident, Doctor. We needed you here. We needed your expertise. Around them, the facility continued to shake. The strange growths were spreading visibly now, pulsing with otherworldly light. And in Vale's transformed features, Thera saw a terrible reflection of what her life's work had become. The question was, could they still stop it, or was this transformation of humanity and Mars already beyond their control? The executive control room of the Helios facility had become a nightmare jungle of bioluminescent growth, pulsing with otherworldly light. Vale stood before them, his partially transformed body a testament to what humanity might become, or what it might lose. Your people have been preparing for this for millennia, Vale said, addressing Thera. Seeding worlds with the potential for transformation, waiting for species advanced enough to unlock it. We're simply fulfilling our destiny. You're wrong, Thera's voice was firm, her scientific certainty unwavering. The embedded protocols in my research weren't meant for transformation, they were safeguards, placed by my ancestors to prevent exactly this kind of catastrophic evolution. Nathan moved closer to her, his dark eyes never leaving Vale. The ship crash, the stolen research, the rushed timeline, you're not in control of this, are you? Vale's transformed features twisted in what might have been amusement or pain. Control is an illusion. Evolution demands change. The process has begun, and it cannot be stopped. Another violent tremor shook the facility. Through the reinforced windows, they could see the Martian landscape changing, waves of transformation spreading across the red planet's surface. Multiple containment failures detected, the facility AI announced. Critical mass approaching. Estimated time to total transformation, 3 hours, 17 minutes. We need to reach the primary control node, Thera whispered to Nathan. If I can access the original genetic codes. You'll die trying, Vale interrupted, his enhanced hearing catching her words. The transformation is strongest there. Even these quantum shields won't protect you for long. Rook's cybernetic eyes flashed as she analyzed the situation. I can hack the security systems, buy you some time. But he's right, the radiation levels near the control node are off the charts. Nathan's expression hardened with determination. Then we'll have to be quick. He turned to Thera, his voice softening. Whatever you need to do, I'll get you there. Vale moved with supernatural speed, but Rook was faster. Her cybernetic systems engaged, flooding the room with electromagnetic pulses that momentarily disrupted Vale's enhanced biology. Go, she shouted. I'll hold him here. They ran through corridors that were increasingly alive, the transformed vegetation responding to their presence with unsettling intelligence. Nathan's cybernetic shields deflected the worst of it, but Thera could feel the pull of the altered genetics calling to her own DNA. It's trying to change us, she gasped as they approached the control center. The base code of my research, it's being twisted into something it was never meant to be. Stay with me, Nathan's hand found hers, warm and human and anchoring. We're almost there. The control node was a nightmare of biological and technological fusion. Twisted masses of transformed matter pulsed around the central computer core, their bioluminescence matching the rhythm of Thera's own skin patterns. The failsafe, she said, moving to the controls with scientific precision despite the chaos around them. My people built it into every research project, every sample. A genetic kill switch, in case our work was ever corrupted. Look out. Nathan tackled her as a tendril of transformed matter lashed out. His shield took the hit, but the quantum field flickered dangerously. Shields failing, the facility AI announced with mechanical calm. Transformation reaching critical acceleration. Time to total conversion, 47 minutes. Thera's fingers flew over the controls, her scientific knowledge merging with desperate necessity. The original code is still here, buried under their modifications. If I can activate it. You'll die, Vale's voice echoed through the chamber as he appeared in the doorway, his transformation even more advanced. The failsafe requires a genetic key, your genetic key. It will burn out your entire nervous system. He's right, Nathan realized, horror dawning on his face. That's why your people hid the failsafe so deep. It's a suicide switch. Thera's skin patterns shifted to colors of deep resolve. Then that's what it takes. She turned to Nathan, her violet eyes meeting his. My people designed these safeguards for a reason. The power to transform worlds can't be controlled, it can only be protected. No. Nathan moved to the controls beside her. Your research showed the biological adaptations can interface with technology. Let me link my cybernetic systems to the failsafe. We'll split the load. It could kill you both, Vale warned, but there was something like respect in his transformed features. Or transform you into something beyond either of your species. Another tremor rocked the facility. Through the windows, they could see the transformation reaching toward the Martian sky, preparing to spread its spores toward Earth. Together? Nathan asked, holding out his hand. Thara's skin patterns shifted to colors of love and determination as she took it. Together, they interfaced with the control node as one, Thara's alien biology merging with Nathan's cybernetic systems. The failsafe code activated, burning through them like fire, but where one faltered, the other's strength held true. The transformation began to reverse, the corrupted life forms breaking down into their component elements. Vale screamed, a sound of loss or liberation, it was impossible to tell, as his body returned to human form. Transformation collapse spreading, the AI reported. Containment restored. Genetic corruption neutralizing. The last thing Thara saw before consciousness faded was Nathan's smile, still human, still him, as they held each other through the genetic storm. She awoke days later in a medical bay orbiting Mars. Nathan was beside her bed, looking tired but very much himself. "Welcome back," he said softly. "The fail-safe," she asked, her voice weak but urgent. "Worked perfectly. Mars is back to its regular red self, and Earth was never touched." He squeezed her hand. "Rook's been having a field day selling the story to every news outlet in the system. Helios is finished. And us?" Her skin patterns shifted nervously. "Are we still ourselves?" he assured her. "Mostly. Though the doctors are fairly confused by some of my new readings, and you might notice a few interesting cybernetic enhancements when you're stronger." Thara felt it then, a subtle connection between them, deeper than her natural empathy. In saving two worlds, they had indeed become something new, but not in the way Vale had intended. Not a loss of self, but a joining of strengths. "So," Nathan said with a grin that made her hearts beat faster, "about that second date I promised." Thara's skin patterns shifted to joy colors as she pulled him down for their first real kiss. Above them, Mars hung in the viewport, red and untamed and waiting for the right kind of transformation, one guided by wisdom, patience, and love. In the end, they had saved more than planets. They had proven that the greatest evolution comes not from forcing change, but from choosing to face it together.